what it is, what it ain't. Welcome back, party people. Thank you for tuning in on Last Take, a shot in the
Sound like you're
dark.
in a fishbowl, Kev.
Hey, fishbowl, fishbowl. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, still bad.
Yeah, it's like you're far away. We can hear you, but it just
Oh,
sounds muffled. Watch
what
this.
about that? We a little bit better on
No,
that?
that's worse. That's worse. Flip it back around. Flip it back the way it was.
Go ahead, D-Thing, take it away.
What's going on? What's happening, good people?
This is what we have to deal with here. Anyway, man, welcome back to Last Take a Shot in the Dark on Monday nights. I am your man Skip of Mr. Skip's Trophies and More, and to my left, well, actually to my right, left on screen is Mr. Diamond Dirty Dastard and D for life, my motherfucking partner. That's how you do introduction, sir.
Appreciate that, sir. Do not make me
Well.
laugh. You don't make me laugh.
Back to your regular schedule programming. Fellas,
Yes.
how was your week?
Who, me?
Fellas, y'all are fellas?
Oh, okay.
Go ahead, Skip.
I'll go first. My week was like normal, man. I'm always hustling, or not hustling. Let me rephrase that. I'm always at a car show, whether I'm supporting, hosting, or judging. Went to a car show this weekend. It was called I Serve the Hood, and it was at Atlanta Motor Speedway. It was on the outside of Atlanta Motor Speedway in one of the huge parking lots, and there was, I'm gonna say 300-400 cars there. I mean, the expectation was a lot more, but still was a good show. We did a live podcast from there also with the Atlanta CarCast group, and I've got a lot of great interviews. Did some exposure, got some people some exposure, and we met some people that are going to try to help us get to the next level of podcasting. So made some connections out there and everything, and yeah, that's about it. And then watched Sports Sunday, hung out a little bit with the family and barbecued and whatnot. So great weekend, man.
Can't beat family time.
Never.
Dirty D, what it do?
Pretty much the same thing. Getting my son ready for his first high school football game this weekend for North Clayton here in Georgia. So he's gonna get his first taste of Georgia high school football as they take on Riverdale this Saturday. That's pretty much it. Did a little yard work and back on the grind. Got a new route, so learning stuff like that. So we good to go.
There you go. There you go. Well,
Watched a lot
fellas,
of football. Watched a lot of football on Saturday too.
yeah, a bunch of preseason. We're getting back to that time. Well, fellas, we have a very special guest joining us today. She is the owner of JQSportsPR. You can find her on Twitter and Instagram at JQSportsPR. Also, she is a Liberty grad, graduating with a master's in human services and communications, all while being a college athlete. Also, the former host of DNA Sports Talk Radio and the producer of Can We Talk Sports, joining with us today, Miss Jaquese Smith. Can I get some hand claps, producer?
Oh, man, first off, you don't know more about sports than me. I'm gonna just tell you that right now.
Oh, you got it. You got it.
I'm just talking out loud. No. Just trying to get you loosened up, baby girl. We got that little that smile on you.
So, Miss JQ, the floor is yours. Why don't you tell us a little bit about you and what you do?
Yeah, so I am a former college basketball athlete. I played at Maryland Eastern Shore in the MEAC. Then I went to a JUCO. Things didn't work out for me at Maryland Eastern Shore, so I transferred to a JUCO in Lufkin, Texas. Did my year there, and then I had an opportunity to play at North Texas or Louisville, but I failed two classes. So at that time, if you didn't get an associate's degree, you had to sit out a year if you want to transfer to a Division I school. But I was like, I'm not going to summer school. I've never done summer school. So I'll settle and go to Division II. Went to Laurinburg, St. Andrews in Laurinburg, North Carolina. I did my 2 years there, had an opportunity to play overseas afterwards, but I didn't want to go that route. So I went straight to grad school and got my master's at Liberty. When I got to Liberty, that's when I knew that I wanted to be on the media side of sports. So while I was at Liberty, I interned for the Liberty football team, football program as a marketing director. And then I also coach at a local high school for the girls basketball team. And I also was part of the media production for Lynchburg Legends. It was a semi-men's basketball program out of Lynchburg, Virginia. And then after I left there, I had to come back to North Carolina because, I didn't want to stay in Lynchburg. There was nothing there. So went back to North Carolina, bought this cheap camera, and that's when I started going to these different high school events, the Nike EYBL, the McDonald's All American, and with my little cheap camera, I would sit on the sideline, y'all, and I would just do highlight films and interview these top male athletes that are now in the NBA. So, as I was seeing things unfolding on the back end, like behind the scenes, I made the conscious decision to, transition from being in front of the camera to now behind the camera as a PR manager. So that's how JQ Sports PR was found. And, I'm loving every single trial and tribulation. I'm learning a lot, meeting a lot of people, making some great connections with athletes and their families. So that's where I am. That's where I am today.
Well, that's good, man. You stayed busy. That's one thing I can say. Most
I
athletes, knowing most college athletes, once they make the mistakes or to hit the pitfall that you hit as far as failing a class and not being able to go to the Division I schools, they normally go to the JUCOs or
yeah.
the, the Division II schools, and then it's like they just float from job to job to job. But you took off running, man, and congrats on that. You showed your hunger. Yeah, I mean, you're still showing it, but congrats on that.
Well, you know
Um,
what? To be honest, like I said, I didn't know when I was at Liberty, I knew I wanted to be on the media side. But then when I graduated, it was a very difficult transition for me because I didn't know what that looked like. I applied for jobs at ESPN, all the local sports TV shows. I didn't get, an opportunity. So I just had to create my own lane. Like I said earlier, I'm enjoying the process. A lot of people don't want to go through the process. They want things to be done for them overnight. So when you're building your brand, you have to be patient and go through those, difficult situations.
okay.
So JQ, I just really I heard you mention something as of you transferred out or whatever. That
Hmm.
process when you went through that, was it difficult when you was making some of the decisions to leave? Yes, because as we see now with the transfer portal going on and
Well, the transfer portal makes it easy though.
yeah, but I'm saying what it going on now. Back then, when you dealt with that, with the transition of dealing with it, was it stressful? Because you got some of the athletes who will leave for not better opportunities because they didn't
Hmm.
want to go through the rigors and fight for playing time or whatever the case may be.
Hmm.
Yeah. Well, actually, when I was at Maryland Eastern Shore, going in my freshman year, I played behind the senior point guard. But
Mhm.
the second part of the season, she got kicked off, so I became the starting point guard. But it wasn't just a good fit for me. So what I did was, granted, my parents didn't know anything about the transfer process or even, going to college and playing um, college sports and getting a free education. So I basically had to teach myself. So I got online looking up different ways of how to go about the transfer process. And actually, when I look back, I made a stupid mistake and I went to the AD. I didn't go to the
Mm.
head coach. I went to the AD because that's what I saw online, that you had to go to the AD and get cleared first. And I had
Mm.
my naive self said, I would like for this conversation to be made confidential. And it didn't. And it got back to the head coach. And he said, yeah, I just think it's best for you to transfer. He didn't help me. I had to do everything by myself. I mean, every day in between classes, I was online, emailing college coaches, making phone calls to see who needed a point guard that,
Wow.
had some experience. So I had to do everything by myself. That shit was very stressful. And, now that I look back, I wish I would have went a different route instead of going to the MEAC, but playing all 4 years, actually middle school and high school, think about it. You're the star player. And when you get an opportunity to play at the next level, and one school is telling you, oh no, we want to redshirt you. I'm not trying to hear that. I'm trying to go straight into college and I'm trying to see the floor. So it was like, you know what? I'm gonna take this chance. But now that I look back on it, it was, a mistake. I should have went to Montana State. That's the other school that wanted me really bad, but they wanted to redshirt me. But I didn't. I was big headed. Everybody telling me, you need to go to MEAC. You need to go to Maryland Eastern Shore, get some playing time right away. Like you gonna be a bench rider? I was like, I ain't trying to hear that. So it was definitely difficult. Definitely difficult.
Well, also, I know I read in your bio about you help the young kids now coming out of high school with the recruiting process.
Hmm.
Can you explain a little bit about how that works and what it is that you help them with?
Yeah, so mainly is with the recruiting exposure. I know I mentioned earlier that I was graduated from high school in Raleigh, North Carolina, which wasn't a really, big city. So what I started seeing is that these parents and these kids were blaming how small their community was, and college coaches wasn't hearing about them. There wasn't any exposure tournaments or camps that was happening in their area. So with social media being like the in the forefront for the recruiting of how college coaches find these kids, I took on that task of helping these young kids and their parents of putting themselves out there on social media. So everything from like what AAU programs to play for, coming up with a database of what schools you need to look at, having a checklist from sophomore all the way up to your senior year. I mean, it's just so many different aspects that I touch on when it comes to, to the recruiting process. My main thing though is getting these parents back involved. Like I said earlier, my parents, they didn't play college sports, so they had to teach themselves. So seeing what they had to go through, I'm seeing that a lot of parents are not being involved in their child's recruiting. And you don't have to know everything, but you need to be there for support, because sometimes you get these handlers or these people that care for these kids' best interest when,
Hmm.
in all actuality, they're only looking, what's going to
Facility.
benefit them, right? So just trying to be that support system, and showing them the ropes and knowing the process from point A to point B. But it's so many things that goes into the recruiting process. But as far as the exposure piece, it's so important because a lot of kids, when they're on social media, they're looking at, oh, I'm about to show off my latest drip. I just cop these new J's. That's
Right.
all good and stuff. But when it comes to preparing for the future and getting to college, and now with the NIL, getting opportunities to get paid off your name and image and likeness, you need to use social media as an avenue to get you set up for, life after sports.
Right. And that leads me into the next question. Now, with you having to relay or teach all of these different things that they need to start preparing for,
Mhm.
is this something you start like in their junior year, or when they become this, when they blossom, so to speak, into a good athlete?
A
Or
freshman.
okay, as a freshman, okay,
As
okay, I
a
was thinking about
freshman,
that
yep.
because you can't start, in my opinion, you can't start junior, senior year and give them all the information they need for them to be on the right track. Okay, I got
Yep.
you.
I tell a lot of my parents and coaches and athletes to get them while they're young, starting off in their freshman year. Now,
Hmm.
I personally wouldn't take on a client when they're in their freshman year, just because they have so much foundation to build.
Right.
So helping them with that foundation with consultation calls. And I do follow a lot of these athletes, even when, I have conversations with their parents over the phone. Just because they're not a client of mine, it doesn't mean that I'm not watching what they're putting on social media. So
Gotcha.
I would tell a lot of parents to start when their child is in their freshman year. That goes with social media to even the recruiting process, making sure that, you're signed up for the NCAA eligibility center, making sure
Mhm.
that you're on the right course to graduating on time, having these meetings and these conversations with the guidance counselors at the school. Don't wait until your junior senior year, because by
Yep.
that time, honestly, it's too late. I hate to say
Mhm.
that because it's never too late, but I'm trying to teach these young kids and these parents of becoming more proactive than being reactive. And I
Gotcha.
think the earlier that you start, the more you stay ahead of the curve.
Okay.
And JQ, I wanted to elaborate on something else you were saying there. What about these different camps that these kids are rushing to go in? I have a friend whose son played on a 1-9 team, and he ended up going to all these different camps, played in the 7-on-7 league down in Georgia. He ended up getting a scholarship offer for the University of Georgia, but it was a partial. He left that alone and ended up going to Tennessee on a partial scholarship. Now he's at Jacksonville State. And I was just wondering, he got all his exposure by going to these different camps that he was traveling around and didn't really have that much game footage.
Well, see, the thing about when you're going to these different camps, I always tell parents to look at what type of media and what kind of college coaches are at these camps, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're just spending your money going to these different camps and tournaments just because somebody told you, oh, that's a good camp for them to go to, why should that child participate in this camp? And then what's also important is how they follow up. You have a lot of kids that just go to these camps and that's it. They don't get any video footage, they don't get any photos, they don't get any highlights and send them off to college coaches. Because let's be honest, coaches are busy. They can't get to every tournament and every camp. So
Right.
when you have that piece of information, such as photos and videos, follow up. Don't just attend a camp just so you can tell everybody, yeah, I went to such and such camp. No, take that information, take that video footage and apply it and use that leverage and send it off to different college coaches. But a lot of people don't do their research. You know, they just go online, they see a camp. Oh, okay, we're gonna sign up for this camp that's $300. Well, what type of media is there? Because media is important. A lot of people don't want to admit that media is vital when it comes to the recruiting process. When you have these different scouts and these different journalists at these events, they're going to be the ones that's going to post you on their social media. They're going to be the ones writing up articles that
Mm-hmm.
college coaches read and that they also are subscribed to. So when you go to these different camps, don't let it just stay, just stop there. You have to utilize that and go and take it a step further.
Gotcha. Now you said something about the NIL. It's still pretty new. Well, it's
Hmm.
new. Some of the high school kids, unless they have LeBron James notoriety, how would the
Hmm.
NIL coming out of high school say they're a 3-star? You know, just mediocre, so to speak. How
Hmm.
would the lure of NIL from, say, Alabama influence them more than, say, from Jackson State
Right.
with Dion?
So, yeah. So, great question. I get this question asked a lot because even before the NIL passed, y'all, I was an advocate of these kids preparing themselves for life after sports. Like, coming out of high school, I wasn't a 4 or 5 star athlete. I was maybe a 3 star athlete.
Mm-hmm.
And remember when I said earlier, when I transitioned from college into the real world, I didn't know what the hell I wanted to do. So before this NIL had passed, I was speaking and emphasizing on social media and speaking at different engagements where when you're setting yourself up for this NIL opportunity, don't think just about the money. It's more than that. Like you just said, if you're not a LeBron, if you're not a Bronny, if you're not, a 4 or 5 star athlete, more than likely you're not going to be thrown money. Like money's not going to be thrown at you.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so passionate about what I do because I was that kid once. And now all I'm
Mm-hmm.
trying to do is set these kids up and get them to understand that this NIL, I know a lot of people speak about the money of the NIL, but it's also about preparing themselves with life after sports. You have a lot of kids that are playing in a JUCO, HBCU that is utilizing NIL, and they're not getting thousands of dollars being offered to them, but they're still getting opportunities at interning at different companies. They might be
Mm-hmm.
in a small local community and you might have this bank that's very well known in that area. They might want to get a kid from that Division 2 school to be an ambassador of their bank. So it does it to me, and I know I get a lot of backlash about it, but I don't care how talented you are. That shouldn't stop you on preparing yourself for the NIL opportunity.
Mm.
Gotcha.
Now,
Hey,
can I ask you this real quick? With the like Skip said, the NIL being kind of new, do you offer any maybe financial literacy or money advice at all to the kids? Some kids not used to growing up with any money, so it could be a big change for them to have some in their pocket.
Right, right. I'm a believer that if I don't know, if I'm not very knowledgeable in a certain area, I'm not going to try to, guide you in that area, right? So what I do is I have a lot of people within my network, and I'm very particular or who I collaborate with or who I affiliate myself with. So the people
Mhm.
that I have lined up to send these kids and the parents their way, I'm very confident in. Where
Mm-hmm.
I come from as a brand manager is helping them marketing themselves. Think of it as image consulting, right?
Mhm.
Or media training and social media, doing some outreach community events, because that's what these big companies are looking for. So when, a parent comes to me and say, "Hey, we need some help with negotiating a contract," I send them off to somebody else that's more of an
Mm-hmm.
expert in that
Gotcha.
lane. I don't try to, talk my way or bullshit my way through all of that. I don't do
Right.
that, because like I said, I want to make sure that these kids are getting the correct information, because there's a lot of misleading information out here. So
Yes.
anything with financial literacy, negotiating contracts, that is not my lane. I get mistaken for being an agent. I am not an agent. I am a brand manager. I'm that person where if someone wants to book you for a photo shoot, let's just say if Nike approached an athlete and say, "Hey, we really want you to be a brand ambassador for this new product that we're coming out with." They're going to make sure, oh, I'm going to make sure that I'm there, because what I don't want is these big companies trying to turn these athletes into people that they're not. You want
Mm.
to stay true to your brain, you want to stay true to yourself. So I'm going to be that person in the background. No, that don't fit his brand. That doesn't fit her brand. That's not what she's about. We need to go in a different direction. So that's what I do as far as when it comes to the PR and the branding aspect.
Hmm.
Okay,
Okay.
that's what I was listening at when you said that, because I know back when some of the athletes get drafted, they put a speech coach with them. They have different people for their clothing, different people that different people that transport them around and so forth. So that's the type of stuff that you provide for them. You know what I'm saying? Especially like a speech coach, because some of these
Yes.
guys do come from certain areas. When they get up and have a conversation, it's just being honest.
They can't talk.
Mm-hmm.
They can't
Mm-hmm.
talk. They can't speak the language. And you got to make sure that they know what they're saying when they get that mic in front of them, or anybody that gets around them in certain areas, right?
Mm-hmm. And it's so
Yep.
funny that you say that, because when I was going to these different, events like the McDonald's All Americans, the Adidas Uprising, all those, elite events, y'all, I cannot tell you how much I would cringe sometimes when I'm interviewing these young athletes, to the point where
Mm.
when it's time for me to edit, I would have to delete some stuff because I didn't my thing was I want to portray them in the most positive light as much as I can, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I
Yes.
want them to look like they know how to use proper English. So it was to
Hmm.
the point where I said, you know what? I can offer more than just interviewing these kids. A lot of these kids need media training and just image consulting.
Mm.
When you go out to the public, you have to present yourself a certain way. Because my parents would always tell me, y'all, when you think someone's not watching you, someone is always watching you.
Always.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That's what it
Yes.
is, though, Carl.
Yes. You never know who's watching.
So
Okay.
You
speaking of
never know who's watching you.
speaking of always being watched, being a female in this industry, have you had any pushback or backlash? No struggles at all, or
No,
lots?
Of
Yeah.
course not. Not being a woman,
of
no.
course
She
not.
got she got it easy, Kev.
No,
That's obvious.
y'all. I
This
had
is an
when
interview, sir.
Okay. Go ahead, Mr. JQ. I'm sorry.
y'all when I tell you when I would go to these tournaments, I'm a tomboy at hand, right? But when it comes to branding and marketing yourself, you have to stand out from everybody. So there
Mhm.
were times where I would wear a casual dress, right? I wouldn't be rocking sweatshirts and a t-shirt all the time. Sometimes I would be rocking a dress. I had one guy to tell me, I would never forget this day. It was at a Boo Williams tournament. And I walked in, and this guy, when I presented my media credentials, he was like, "Who gave you that credential? Because I know you ain't here interviewing no athletes." And I was like,
Wow.
"Why do you say that?" He was like, "Look at you. Look at me. What do you mean, look at me? You too dolled up to be on the sideline." And it was like, Are you kidding me?
Man, see,
Are you kidding
supposed
me?
to let the hood come out on his ass.
No, 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 no.
Shit. He ain't no damn body. He's competition. So she's supposed to put his
Look,
ass, in my opinion.
I I handled myself in a very professional manner, but I was very firm and very direct.
Hmm.
And we
Mhm.
actually are we're actually Instagram friends to this day, and he support me in everything that I do. But
So he realized he
it
fucked
does
up.
it does get it does get difficult. I will say that. But I'm not trying to be known as that individual, as that woman. Like she had to seek her way to the top. Like
Hmm.
my hard work and my persistency and my consistency, that's what's gonna help me get to the top and be able to work with the type of people that I want to work with. Because if it ain't
Mhm.
for me, it ain't for
Damn right.
me. You know what I'm saying? So to answer your question, it does get hard sometimes, but like I said earlier in the interview, I appreciate every trial and tribulation that I come across because it's made
Hmm.
me who I am today. So yeah,
Good.
from time to time I get that side eye, but when I get on the court and I start shooting, they like, oh, so you used to play ball. You're not just a pretty girl trying to work with athletes. No, this ain't what this is. I'm a former college
Mhm.
basketball player. I might I might
I'm
not go
about that shit.
there you go. There you go. So yeah, it does, but it's cool. I get it. Like I'm used to being around guys all the time anyway. So
Hmm.
it doesn't bother me not one bit. But um you have those individuals that would try
Mm.
Yeah,
me. So
always. Well, hey, we had a question come out from the chat. My nephew is a junior football player at UNLV. He hasn't used social media the way that he could. Is it too late for him to create a brand at this point?
no, it is not. And what I would do is every university has a media department where they have a photographer that comes out and gets photos and videos of the athletes. They should be able to reach out to that individual and grab content for them. And one of the things that I like to stress to these college athletes is that you don't have to post every single day. A lot of
Mhm.
experts say in order for your following to grow, you have to post every day. That's not true. You have to work with what works for you. Use what works for you. If that's posting 2-3 times a week, post 2-3 times a week. But you got to make sure that you stay authentic because a lot of people can tell through the bullshit.
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
these companies, these fans, they know when you just putting on, just be putting on. But it's never too late. I said that earlier. So it's just coming up with a strategy. And I think the most easiest way is grabbing the content that's honestly at his fingertips. He just has to reach out to that department to get those photos and get those videos. And then whatever he has a passion for outside of his sport, try to create a niche from that as well. Because everyone has a passion outside what their main, day to day is. Like for me, I love to dance. That's why most of my videos, even when I'm educating, I'm incorporating my quote unquote dancing skills into my social media, right?
Uh-huh. So that's the end right there. Let me see if you can move. That do it.
No, you gotta go to my social media to see that.
Skip was a loop dancer back in the late
Don't you
'80s
don't you
down
believe that?
Really?
Miami.
Don't no,
Yeah,
and you believe that.
he from the 305. You know what I'm saying?
Real fun. Took it to the house. Hey, took it to the house.
Oh, hey, look, you got to dance now. But now there's a question on the screen, and I can answer it, but I want your input first. And the question
Okay.
is being said that female athletes should be paid more, yet females don't support sports such as the WNBA. Is this hypocritical?
Oh.
It is. It is very
Mm.
hypocritical. One of the things that I am seeing is that these WNBA players are putting themselves out there more when it comes to, them being a brand, right?
Mm-hmm.
Look, when I was playing college basketball, there were so many studs. There were girls that was trying to look like dudes. And if that's what you do, that's what you do.
Mm.
But if you really want to have a lasting career outside of your sport, you have to portray yourself in a certain way. like, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It is what it is, right?
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of girls in the WNBA, they try to uphold this image where, if I look like a dude, I'm play like. I mean, if I look like a dude, I'm gonna play like a dude, right? And like I
Mhm.
said,
Mm-hmm.
if that's what works for you, that's what works for you. But my honest opinion is, you have a lot of females out here that don't support the WNBA. Do I support the WNBA? Yes, of course I do. But I think there are some changes that need to be done so that way the WNBA can get the type of support that they should be receiving.
Cappy
Now,
Poindexter is one of your
That's my girl. That's my girl, Cappy.
it's
That's
one of
my
your
girl.
okay, now,
Yes.
oh, go ahead. Go ahead. You said say
Oh no,
something
I
about
was gonna
Kathy.
say, mm-mm.
Okay. Now, the question could be read a lot of different ways. But when you say, is this hypocritical? I say no, because most 90% of the women that go to an NBA game are there for what? They're not there for the sport, in
the
my opinion.
name, the
They're
free
there
throw.
for a chance to see if they can get with somebody with some money. Now,
Oh my goodness.
you think about this. You think about this. Now, hold on. Now, I don't want it to be read as if all these women are gold diggers.
Gold digging hole.
But if you support sports, you support sports. Why wouldn't I want to go
Hmm.
see a woman play just as strongly as I want to go see a man play? There's
Hmm.
more to it when you go to an NBA game than going to a WNBA game, because they're still
Hmm.
shooting the ball. They're still bringing it up and down the court. Now, they may not be dunking as much, but it's still sports. So if women were supporting the NBA just for the sport, the WNBA would make just as much money almost. You get what I'm saying?
Let's let's
So
get back.
I'm sorry.
I gotta mess with you about something because
Oh,
I went to two different games,
okay.
and of course we've been to NBA games, and I went to two different NBA games at this particular time, and there was a young lady there by herself. Luckily, my job gave me seats down baseline. I seen a lady dressed. They played against Boston. The Hawks played against Boston. The lady was dressed in green paraphernalia. You can imagine what she was doing. Okay, the next game I went back to, they played against Minnesota. Same girl, same seat with blue paraphernalia on. Now,
She was trying to get.
I went to the WNBA game and took my daughter at the time. She won free tickets for something she did in school. They have groupies too, Skip, and they are
Yes,
scantily dressed on the sideline. So
yes.
I'm sitting up here
But the difference is the pay
yeah,
and the
Yeah.
draw.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? So now
yeah.
just imagine if Shell Swoops and all these girls was making millions a year. They only make what, 50,000? I think they
Hmm.
capped off at 50,000
Yeah.
per year, something like that in that area. So that's a regular damn job if you think about it. I
Hmm.
mean, it's condensed, but
Outside of the
if the WNBA women made the type of money, well, they'd have to have a draw. But if the money was there still wouldn't be as many women at the WNBA game as it would be at an NBA game. That's why I
Hmm.
say it's not hypocritical. You get what I'm saying? Now, there are
Yeah.
women that chase women. I get that. And the groupies, like he
Hmm.
said, but the draw is financial stability.
Hmm.
We can sugarcoat it all we want to. But if there's a 30,000 seat arena and 10,000 women are there, if they're not with a man, supporting a man at that game, and I'm going to say half of them, 6,000 of them, they're there for other reasons.
Hmm.
Hmm.
To be seen, to be noticed, maybe to get a modeling contract or whatever. Excuse me, y'all.
So, being that you have your connections to the WNBA, let's go ahead and hear something that we've been talking about a lot. Is your opinion on the Brittany Griner situation?
I mean, it's definitely um it's I'm trying to find my words here.
No, speak freely because we do.
Yeah,
I
we're
I feel
unrated. Go.
so oh, I'm gonna always keep it real. I'm just trying to, gather my thoughts here. I feel bad. I think it's more than just what it is. I think it's more so of a political um,
Harm.
situation.
Hmm.
Um, I'm just very, I mean, I know there are WNBA players that have come up and speak about what's going on. I'm just not seeing a lot of collectively the WNBA speaking more on the situation. Like I see interviews with some of the WNBA players, when they're in press conferences, but I don't think they're going as hard as they should. But again, I think it's outside of their means when it comes to this being a bigger picture. Like I said, it's more of a political standpoint. Um, her sentence was at what, 9 years?
Yep.
That's a little extreme.
Not for there. Not for
Not in
Russia.
Russia.
What?
The school teacher, the same guy, the other guy that's going to be in on the trade when they finally swap. That's exact. He got 10 years.
He
had a prescription. He's been over there 4 years locked up. So think about this. Watch this. If she had been here in the United States and she played for the Minnesota Lynx, right?
Mm-hmm.
She played for Phoenix.
She had a flew from Minnesota to Atlanta and got stopped in the Atlanta airport with that same hat she said she had without a prescription. What would they be saying? Oh, another athlete doing dumb shit. Oh, that's the privilege and everything else. But she's been getting away with it, and she did it over there. Now it's woe is me. She's the reason she's there. Now, politically, yeah, it's fucked up. But we got to think about that bad decision that she made.
I mean, yeah, I'm not excusing her actions for it, because I think she should pay for it, but I just think 9 years is a little extreme. And like I said, I don't think it's just because she's a basketball player and she's given that privilege of being able to get away with this, in the past. It's more to it. And
the war,
it's very unfortunate, but I just don't. I think the WNBA needs to step up a little bit harder. Like,
so you think with more support from the actual league itself, it could help out in a bit of a way?
I don't think they have the means to. I don't think the WNBA has the means to.
If,
they don't have the financial backing, or they don't have the.
But that's why. Okay, so if they don't have the financial backing, you got the NBA. Why isn't the NBA stepping up? Why aren't they stepping up? Getting these LeBron James, Chris Paul.
Yeah.
Right, getting these individuals involved.
And they think that saying, hey, free Britney is enough. It's not.
No, it's not.
I was just trying to bring it up before you say it, that JQ. Being that the NBA is a more international sport worldwide, far as the WNBA on a popularity standpoint, if they did step up and did that, some of the Players Association, Chris Paul being the president, so forth, LeBron James, he has some kind of, he has interests all around the world. A lot of the athletes do. I think they can push the needle a little bit, but like you said, the situation is more political than it is sports related. And it's a shame, she committed a crime, don't get me wrong, but it's turning into a dog and pony show to me. Because every day is this, that, this. They want an arms dealer for her and a former Marine / spy, whatever they want to call him. He's been over there for almost 10 years. We say it's still the other guy. They want to send back
10 years. He's been over there 4 years.
Yeah, so she's being a political pawn in a situation with a war going on.
The leverage now is bigger than what it was when they just had.
And she would have been back, in my opinion, if the war wasn't going on, and if the U.S. wasn't aiding another country, whatever, So yeah, man, very difficult situation.
Because a lot of people say, like, I'm not going to put my political beliefs out there, but a lot of people that I've spoken with feel that if Donald Trump was in office, she would have been out of there.
We already said that.
You did? Okay.
Yes, we did. I said
that. But because they're friends, possibly. But if Donald Trump had been in office and he would have made a deal like that, imagine how that would have affected him here.
None.
Well, with all this shit going, well, no, we're not political, so.
It'll get political real quick. But
that's a crazy turn. Let's steer back on.
But he would have had to make promises and give stuff that, anyway.
Yeah.
But say too, There's so much we can ask you, man. Is there anything that we missed that you want to talk about or get out there?
No, I think you guys hit everything on the nail. It's just, I really want these young athletes to start thinking about what's ahead of them.
Mm.
Not everybody gets the opportunity to play at the professional level, and it doesn't matter how talented you are. And just getting these parents back involved in the recruiting process, being able to go on these visits with these kids. Of course, you don't want to overpower the conversation, but just being there for support and letting these coaches know, not saying that you're going to come in and try to tell the coach how to do their job, but if you're present during the recruiting process, I feel like people deal with people accordingly, right? If I came into my workplace every day on the phone, being behind on my word, being unprofessional, people would treat me, a certain way. But if you handle yourself in a manner where, look, my child is in your hands, I'm gonna ask, not saying that you're gonna blow up the coach's phone, because these coaches don't care when they getting paid millions of dollars, a
Hmm.
season, right? But just having these parents present, during the child's recruiting process and just their life, I think would turn a lot of things around. So just emphasizing to these parents, getting back involved, getting ahead of the recruiting process and doing your research. People don't want to do their research nowadays. They're just listening to what such and such is telling them, right? And it's
Yeah.
it's okay to take advice from people, but do your own research. There's so many resources out here, and I feel like as a Black community, we don't utilize those resources. We want things to come quick. We don't want to go through the process. We're afraid to make, bad decisions. We want to uphold this. Oh, my child is only going D1 and D1 only. Like, we're not looking at JUCO. We're not looking at Division 2 or NAIA. That child might not have the talent to play at that level. What other special talents does he or she have to where they can still make the same amount of money if they, just like any other professional athlete, if it's outside of their sport?
Got you. Now, with you being in North Carolina, correct?
I'm here in Atlanta.
Also, you're working in the area then.
Yeah, I'm in Atlanta.
That
Uh-huh.
was going to be my next question.
Here, I got a
Hmm.
question for her too. Go
Oh,
ahead. I'm
Well, hey,
sorry.
let her go.
since you're
Let
here in
it.
the
Oh, go
Atlanta
ahead.
area, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Skip. You good?
Since you're here in the Atlanta area, how is it that parents can find you to help them?
Mm.
Or do you have a commercial or a card or just your website? How can they be directed to find Miss JQ to tell them what they need to do or show them what they need to do or help them?
Yes, so they can find me on my website at JQSportsPR.com.
Hmm.
I'm very active on social media. I'm trying to get more into the football scene out here, but I'm definitely on the basketball scene. So I tell parents, or I just tell kids, if you see me at a game, don't be afraid to walk up to me and ask me a question. If you're dealing with a situation, a recruiting process, or need some advice on how to handle a situation, I'm at these events. Like, I'm out here, like I said, I'm very active on social media, always trying to educate, the community about different things when it comes to the branding aspect and the recruiting process. But the easiest way is through my website at JQSportsPR.com.
Cool.
Wonderful.
We will be trying to direct families to you that we know personally because we know
Yeah.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
people with
I would
student
appreciate
kids
that.
and stuff like that. So, hey man, you need
Mhm.
to reach out to her and just let it go from there. You
And
said you have a
I,
question?
I I also want to say another thing too. So what I've decided for the 2022-2023 year is I'm going to partner with two schools here in Atlanta,
Mm.
in the Atlanta metro area for free. So basically what I'm going to be doing is all the services that I had mentioned to you guys, I'm wanting to, offer these services at no charge to one basketball team and one football team, and that can be
Mm.
at any school in Atlanta.
Hell yeah.
Um,
Woo.
yeah.
That's
So
awesome.
Listen, my daughter just
there,
graduated from Cedar Grove High School, and they've been
uh-huh.
in the state championship game the last 3 years. They've won
Wow.
two of them, and they have some. Man, I'm 6'4", 300 pounds. They got some
Uh-huh.
kids out there my size walk around nothing but muscle. Can't talk, you know, athlete, one of the most athletic people I ever seen, and can't do number walk
Yeah.
straight.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
So
that's what these colleges are doing. These colleges have people in place to help their athletes with social media, the NIL, you know, just branding themselves. So that's what I'm trying to do on a high school level, and this is for free.
Right.
And what I'm willing to do is dedicate my time to two different programs. Now, of course, I'm going to go through an interview process with the coaching staff, of course,
Gotcha.
because it's not going to just be, oh, you want me to come in and help you guys? Okay, let's do it. No,
You got
I got to
standards.
I got standards. I want to make sure everybody's on the same page. I like to be very clear on what the goals are for these young kids. And if I have a coaching staff that's not on board and they don't agree with kind of services I
Don't want you
offer,
to.
that's not the place for me.
Chuck it
Gotcha.
up.
Wonderful.
Well,
Wonderful.
hey, D, you got any closing questions for Miss JQ?
She hit the nail on the head because what I was gonna bring up, like you said, she's gonna get into the football around here in Atlanta,
Mhm.
and what I was bringing up, some of the conversation we've been having is just youth sports before they get to high
Mhm.
school. I've
Yep.
seen where the recruiting process has started all the way at 8, 9, 10 years old for these kids get to high school. I have seen rankings
Mhm.
of quarterbacks at 13, different skill positions, and they're being recruited in Little League to get to these elite high schools, like
Mm-hmm.
a Cedar
Mhm.
Grove. Cedar Grove
Mm-hmm.
are
They
coming to get
recruit.
kids out of the inner city and taking them up there, and it's become a big business. You know what I'm saying, on the business aspect of it. And that's why I say once you tap into it, I would love for us to have a conversation about it because I got a referee that I want to bring on that's dealt with these situations at these youth games. Me and Skip talked
Okay.
about it earlier. And it's just interesting that I think it affects a kid when you
Yep.
put him in this situation at a young age and then he doesn't succeed on the next level and it breaks him.
Yep.
And they have no out but the streets after that. Because you have, like you say, you have somebody been telling you good from Little
Mhm.
League.
Mm-hmm.
You get
Mhm.
to middle school ball, you great, you good. Now you out here at Division 1A super high school that have been winning 10 state championships. Now you can't get off the bench.
Exactly. You're
Mhm.
not the big fish in the small pond no more.
Exactly. Or even when you go through the process at college, like you said, you started your whole time in high school. And when you got to
Mhm.
college, it's like, wait a minute, hold on, I'm not used to this. And it
Right.
affects you socially
Yep.
and mentally, even with
Mhm.
schoolwork and whatever you have going on and family life. So yes, I
Yep.
would love to touch bases with you on that because, like I say, my son plays his first high school game this Saturday, and it's going to be very interesting what I'm going to see.
I'm going to see
Mhm.
it.
I
I
might
gotta
have to
be
pull
there.
up for that one.
Ooh, he gonna get tattoos.
Well, Miss JQ, here at Last Take, we like to do something called Your Last Take. So, I'm going to give you a second to go. I'm going to put you up on the screen and just let you get out anything you want to say to the viewers out there before you go.
Okay. Make sure you follow me, guys, on social media platforms, Instagram and Twitter at JQSportsPR. You can find me on my website as well at JQSportsPR.com. Athletes, take social media and your future seriously. Everything is a business now. You can still have fun, you can still show off your latest drip, but you gotta be serious on what you want to do because when you get to college, it's a whole different ball game. And parents, get back involved in your child's recruiting process.
Mhm.
All right.
Well said, well said. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I know you've got
Thank
some
you guys.
deadlines to hit, so go do your
Yes.
thing.
Thank you.
All
Thank
right,
you.
bye,
Really
y'all.
appreciate
Y'all.
Thank y'all.
it. All right.
All right. Well, fellas,
Wonderful.
yeah, we got a couple topics here to talk about. I didn't do too many. I didn't know how long we would be interviewing, so might be a shorter show tonight. Everybody cool with that? Hey, all
That
right.
right
Going
there,
back to this
that
question.
that's that that,
Now,
that statement holds no merit.
well, even
Listen,
even
on
even
female sports is legacy players' daughters. What sense does that make?
even so, that lets me know Mister doesn't know
I
who
know it.
Cheryl Swoops, Cynthia Cooper, some of the Don Staley, some of the legends that played women's sports and
Right.
are high profile athletes. It's just it wasn't mainstream like that. Go look at that 30 for 30 about Cheryl Swoops and that women's dream team that they took over there to the Olympics and whooped ass
Yes, they
along with
did.
the original dream team.
average what, 35,
They were
40
beating
points
by
a
they
game.
were beating about they were beating by 30. They were beating their ass by
Yeah, they
30 too.
average every game winning by that much.
Yeah, they were whooping ass too.
But yeah, when you say the Jordans and all these guys, they don't have daughters that they push in the sports like Bron did his son. Michael Jordan's son tried, he just didn't have it.
Both of them.
You see what I'm saying? So when you say the legacy players, man, it don't always play that way. When we see these athletes, sons making it to the NFL and NBA, that's not ordinary. It's just not. I mean, you know, Dion's kids, they ain't gonna go to the league on merit. They're gonna go there because they're Dion's kids.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've seen them play. If he's not a head coach at Jackson State, I don't. No knock on Dion because he's a monster, but nah. All athletes don't have great athletes for children.
And on the flip side of that, we've seen it the opposite way around, have we not? Where the parent was a professional athlete, they wasn't great, but then when they son come up or daughter come up, they monsters. If Kobe Bryant
in the NBA, but he was just
Kobe Bryant. Look at Klay Thompson's fault.
Michael
Klay
Thompson. He played with the Lakers.
Michael Thompson was a hell of a player, but Klay has exceeded his level of play. Because they had, and then you look at Dale Curry and Stephen Curry. Dale Curry was
both his Peyton Manning.
Archie wasn't cheap like that.
Archie was a monster too. Archie was a monster this day now.
But as you see, as the legacy of these players, and you go to legacy, it might skip a generation and it might jump around. They have the financial capital to put their kids in place to be great.
Michael Vick and Marcus Vick,
but see that when you say that still,
Marcus made it.
But here's the thing. But when you say that, just think they could have been Peyton Manning and Eli if they put in the dedication like they did. They didn't do it. That's right.
When we were talking about the kids going to all these camps and whatnot, it just reminded me of a story with this cat that was the quarterback for the freshman team when I was in school. And I mean, his daddy probably spent X amount. I can't give you a number because I don't know what those things cost. But I mean, football camps like every weekend wanted him to be this star quarterback. He was a tall, lanky kid. That kid didn't get one goddamn offer.
Just because you pour money into something doesn't make it great. You still got to have it here. You got to have that fortitude, man. And then you got to have athletic ability. I can train you to throw a football. Now, can I train you to throw one under pressure? Can I train you how to scramble? Can I train you how to memorize a whole playbook? No.
And then you
got to do.
Then not only that, you have parents living through some of their kids. If that kid doesn't have that same passion that father or mother is putting into them, it's not going to work because they're going to rebel. And they're going to rebel on the field type rebellion. You know what I'm saying? You can put all that money you want to into them. That don't mean, hey, it's going to work out. Because you can see from the time you take them outside or take them to one of these camps and you see another athlete come in, and you be like, oh, my child ain't the same as that guy right there. You know what I'm saying? And then you can look at it, it's their demeanor also.
Right. Vincent Parker posted a question: should professional athletes have a say in political affairs like prison swaps? Athletes can't even get Deshaun Watson on the football field. That's two different scenarios. We all can have a say in whatever we want. Now, does it hold weight? It does more because they're professional athletes. Hence the white woman coming out talking about shut up and dribble. That lets you know the kind of weight that LeBron's word carries when a newscaster can say, hey, man, just dribble the basketball. Stay out of this. Because you're going to influence people to your way of thinking. That's my reasoning for why she may have said that. So, yeah, but getting Deshaun Watson on the football field, they didn't go to the massage parlor with Deshaun Watson. But you can get him on the football field. I missed something there. They can't get him on the football field. Yeah, they can.
He's going to play. That's two different scenarios. He's going to play, and he's here on state soil. She's in a international situation.
Hmm.
You know what I'm
There's
saying?
politics involved.
And it's heavy politics involved. Heavy. What just Deshaun Watson did, that's here. You know, we
But
get
and then again, they can, Bo. They can actually make the NFL say, hey, uphold that 6-game suspension. All they gotta do is strike. Wait till week 1, Thursday night, and everybody say we ain't playing because we don't like the way y'all treating Deshaun Watson. I guarantee you, after that first $1 billion they lose in that first week, yeah, some shit'll change.
you see what happened the last time they had a situation in the NFL when no referees were striking and them games were being called by them high school referees. They cut that shit short real quick.
I forgot
They
about
stopped
that.
it real quick.
Well,
So it
fellas,
can get resolved.
we're gonna talk about what they stopped real quick, and that is Fernando Titus. Hit with
Tatis.
a Tatis Titus.
Tatis,
Not
sir,
the
get his name
evil
right.
face you want to do.
Fernando Tatis, sir.
Hit with an 80-game suspension after testing positive for PEDs, performance enhancing drugs. The 23-year-old shortstop has already emerged as one of the faces of the MLB, and now he gets hit with this after coming back from a wrist injury. So,
See,
what do you think for the Padres?
the Padres are good. They just got your boy from Juan Soto, so they already winning. So they're gonna miss him just like the Braves missed your boy last year, and they still won the World Series without their best player. So yeah, but when they say ban for PED or ban substance or whatever, I'd rather them say what it was
Hmm.
because everything is not steroids. But when you say ban substance, that's what pops in your mind. Why is he using steroids and he already a monster? The man used a medicine for ringworms
Mm-hmm.
that contain a banned substance.
Hmm.
He didn't go through the proper channels through his trainer like he should have, because the trainer would say, hey, don't use that, use this. But he went and bought something to treat ringworms, and it had a banned substance, and that's how he got 80-game suspension. So the statement itself makes it seem like he was out there, secretly shooting up trying to get Jose Canseco size. He was doing all of this stuff here and had been passing all these piss tests before. So I think they should just elaborate on what happened versus saying, oh, he got caught with a PED. It's 80 games.
I got it right here for you.
In a sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
He was treating the ailment. You know this for a fact. It's not like, whatever it was that was in that ringworm medicine helped him run faster, made him stronger. It would just happen to be a banned substance. So
Now, is this something they could go back and maybe revise and look at the situation?
well, no, I don't want them to revise it. I think that if they get caught using something they should be punished. I just think when they put it out there, they should elaborate.
Hmm.
Hey,
Yeah,
he didn't shoot steroids. He got
yeah.
caught using a
Mhm.
substance he shouldn't have. It contains something it shouldn't have, and this is why he's suspended.
Yeah, because when it was first reported, 80 game suspension, PED. And I
Right.
was like, wow. The first thing that came to my mind was remember we discussing another athlete, Hopkins out there for the Cardinals.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, some athletes take some of these different supplements to try to get their body to heal a little bit faster so they can get back on the field. So when I first seen this, I was like, not Tatis. He first, you know what I'm saying? And then when I look at it, he came out and had to make a statement himself and said it was over a ringworm thing. And what I see is
Because they weren't going to do it.
what I see is a medication that he bought that's not sold in the United States. Which one? He's a foreign player. He stays out of the country when he's out here playing baseball. And it was a spray to treat a skin condition for scars and burns. But at the same time, if you're not coming out and putting a list out, giving it to say a trainer or team, letting them know, hey, don't use this, that, whatever. But when you get something like that, hey, we can put some Neosporin on us. And if it contains something, boom, now we hit with something. You know why you number news for?
But ignorance.
It's not. It's not. I
Thank you.
got you.
As
I
a
got you.
professional athlete, especially a top tier professional athlete, you have people in place. He could have called, like he said, I went through the wrong channels. I should have called my trainer like I'm supposed to, like what's afforded me. And they could say, hey, go get this, or we're going to send a prescription over there. You go get this. But in wanting to be, I ain't gonna say wanting to be normal, and just doing what you normally would do in the course of a day going to a store. You know what? I got ringworm. That work for ringworm? Let me get one of them. And not saying it happened that way, but you know, when you just make a broad statement, man, it paints you in a negative light.
And this, and what's even terrible about it, they just made this deal to get one solo. Then the Heat, they're about 10 games back, chasing after the Dodgers. Don't know if they're gonna catch him or not. But this guy was on his way. This guy was on his way back to playing, and he's a face. He's a face of the Major League Baseball, and now he's getting hit. He's going to miss the last 48 games of this year,
and the postseason if they make it,
and the postseason, and then next year his game suspension will continue on. You know, so and let me say this too: money can be involved in this also. If you open up your third eye, because he signed a big contract himself before this wrist injury. He had just got in trouble for being on the dirt bike and breaking his wrist, and they had just gave him this money. So of course now they like, hey, our big time money man is not on the field. You know what I'm saying? And I look at all aspects of it. They just made this deal, and not only that, they got the closer from the Milwaukee Brewers. He's a stud too. So San Diego is making moves for this year.
Major piece of the puzzle.
And the future.
Because all these players are young.
All these players are young.
24?
I think Machado might be the oldest person, and he's still young.
And he what, 29?
Yeah, and he's still young.
Well, yeah, they got a good team.
Tatis is only 23.
If you say that man name wrong again, his name is Jaquese.
I'm country as shit. Tatis and Tatis are the same thing.
No, you don't know about to pronounce your name wrong. Jaquese.
Okay. Keith.
I got a buddy who calls me. He can't say Kevlar. He says caviar. He's like Nick Caviar.
But yeah, man. When they do that, man, the banned substance, the broad statements like that, it paints the athlete in a different light. Then they got to defend themselves where they normally wouldn't have to defend themselves. If that makes sense. So, you know, I hate that they do it that way, but like with Barry Bonds, you know, oh, well, we think he used it. You mean y'all ain't got no proof? But yeah. Anyway, next subject.
Next subject. Well, we'll just go ahead and go into this one. Preseason is here. Which means the regular season kickoff is.
Let's talk about those goddamn Cowboys with all the fucking penalties.
Now, that was going to be the first thing I said. I don't really have too much on the injury side, but we talked about the Cowboys wide receiver problems a little bit last week.
Talking about the damn wide receivers?
This week we had 17 penalties in our first preseason game against the Broncos, which we ended up losing 7-17. That's just that penalties are unexcusable. That's just coaching and discipline. Any big injuries? Anything popped out to you?
The quarterback. I seen the quarterback for the New York Jets. He gonna be out 2 to 4 weeks with a meniscus tear and a sprained knee. You got a lot of the center for the Cleveland Browns. I think they lost him for the year. Yep. It's a lot of injuries that's going to take place. That's why they got rid of the extra game. They used to have 4 preseason games, and they got rid of them because of some of these injuries and some of these things. I seen a lot of good play and a lot of sloppy play also, along with your team. Trey Lance looked pretty well. I like what I seen from him. They didn't play Garoppolo, which that's still an interesting situation. out there in San Fran. But I see everybody playing touch and go. Some of the Georgia guys I see play, they look good. The Falcons. So we got a home team crowd. The Falcons' identity looks totally different without Matt Ryan playing for them.
Mm.
I seen a whole different type of team. They still got some holes to fill. I'm not saying they're a playoff team or a contender. They still got some holes to fill. And I watched Matt Ryan play. Same patting the ball, Matt Ryan staying in the pocket. They had 4th and 3, and he wasn't running to get them 3 yards. He threw a 10-yard out skip, incomplete.
Asking Matt Ryan to run is like asking Dan Marino to run. You can't make him what he ain't.
So, some stuff I seen, some of the different identity and some of the things I experienced by watching these games. It was very interesting. I can't wait till the season starts.
Skip.
The Falcons won the first preseason game in 5 fucking years.
on a 4th and 9 play.
Yeah, and you would have thought they won the Super Bowl. They was screaming. The Giants. I am an unofficial Giants fan because my homeboy's son is now the starting offensive tackle. Evan Neal, number 73 for the New York Giants. So I will root for the Giants whenever they play and whoever they play, as long as they don't play my 49ers. They look ready. I'm going to say that. Josh, the quarterback, doesn't have to worry about his front side now because Evan is playing his right tackle. But they got everything. They got all the makings to give everybody a run. And what are they in the AFC?
NFC.
They're in the same division as the Cowboys.
Oh, what
He's
shit?
gonna have to go up
They
against
ain't got
Michael
that to
Parsons.
worry
Your
about.
boy.
Them and the Redskins they ain't worried about them and the Redskins. So
They're the Commanders now, sir. It's
same thing.
inappropriate.
Okay. Whatever. They're the Redskins.
I will always call them the Redskins. I don't care what word they cancel.
Fuck, you get me about the Commanders. That is the weakest fucking name in the whole sports, period. Commanders.
They should have kept it as the Washington Football Club.
It would have been better.
What Skip was talking about is the Giants. They still have a question mark at their quarterback position. Daniel Jones better get it together.
Well, there was a rumor about Jimmy G.
I don't think it's a question mark with him.
Yes, it is.
Unless he get hurt, he is the starter. There's no ifs, ands, or buts.
No. I didn't say he wasn't a starter. I'm saying question marks moving forward if they're gonna keep investing time into him. You see what I'm saying? I mean, he still got happy feet back there.
Peyton Manning won at 15 his first year.
And what he doing? You're not gonna put the same Daniel Jones in the same conversation with Peyton Manning.
No. I'm talking about first year, rookie years. That's what I'm talking about.
He's going into his 3rd season.
Oh, okay. What did he have last year? What did he have last year?
That Johnson had shit, who knows when.
Exactly. Peyton Manning had a fire-ass defense. But Sanders and all them guys was there when Peyton was there.
But they got rid of Eli for this dude. They say he was the next heir apparent.
What time for Eli to go?
They sat Eli on the bench for this dude. Hey, let Eli go out to the pasture. Hey, just can't be quiet. Eli got 2 Super Bowl rings. You don't know nothing about that. Leave them Cowboy fans alone because they're gonna bring them.
Eli Manning like Eli wasn't a shit. He gonna be a Hall of Famer.
I'm not saying that you saying that they sat Eli Manning down. Eli Manning was about to sit the fuck down anyways. He ain't done shit.
But when you turn the reins over like that, you gotta have a surefire dog that's ready to play when you do that. Just like what Indianapolis did
and Rodgers.
The same thing that Indianapolis did with Peyton Manning. They had Andrew Luck coming. Hey, thank you. We're gonna see y'all. We're gonna go with Andrew Luck. You see what I'm saying? You got
Montana.
It's a lot of you gotta make sure you got people in place. Y'all just lucky that y'all had Dak on the bench.
Dak ran over Romo.
It's the same thing.
Romo wanted to go play golf. Leave that man alone.
Do shit. Romo wanted to play some more. Stop that.
He wanted to play some more and wasn't no suitors, and he got him a job as an analyst, and he does a great job as an analyst, I must say.
He came at Deion a couple of times, and Deion stopped his ass on national TV.
So here's something we're going to talk about. Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold. Still a question of who's going to be the starter. Apparently, Baker Mayfield did pretty well the other day. He went 4 for
Both of
7,
them
getting
did.
45 yards. Yep. Sam Darnold going for 2 for 3 for 16 yards. And 1 touchdown. There you go. So, who do you think is going to suit Carolina's offense best?
The name itself will draw more people, so I say Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield starting, especially when they play Cleveland in the second or third game?
First.
First,
Oh,
yeah.
first game?
It's week 1.
First
Yeah.
Oh,
game.
yeah. I think that coupled along with the fact that they're gonna sell his jerseys, they're gonna fill seats because people want to see him fail or people want to see him succeed. It's gonna be Baker Mayfield unless he does something stupid. Because if you look at Baker Mayfield last year compared to Sam Darnold last year, who's the better quarterback? We're not talking about for their team, just talking about those two players. It was Baker Mayfield.
Mm-hmm.
He had more options to do more with, and he didn't. But if you compare the two, Baker Mayfield was the better of the two. So I think that, along with him not doing bad, just blowing the team up in the preseason, he'll be the starter.
And I have to agree with Skip on that because you don't trade for a quarterback to come in just to be on the bench and compete for a job. Now I know Sam Darnold will get the nod this week at the start of the preseason, and Baker will come in after. But you see this happen all the time. They would be a fool just for even if it's that first game. Baker starting against Cleveland because they're gonna want to make a statement. He's gonna want to make a statement unless he gets hurt from this moment moving forward to the beginning of the season. I don't see he'll be starting unless, like I said, he go out there and throw 5 interceptions and stink up the joint.
Right.
He will be on the field week 1.
And what this will show us too is if they put Baker in the starting position and he gets out there against Cleveland and they get the shit whooped out of him because of poor quarterback play,
look bad.
Then he won't play anymore.
That's gonna be the
I think he'll be the locked in backup. Because with him trying to prove a point like he does and getting out there and doing stupid stuff, taking risks, unnecessary risks, that'll cost him his starting position. That's my opinion on that too.
Yeah, I agree with you.
All right. Well, since we're in agreement, folks, we have not drank nothing today.
You know what, man? I was so hyped up about that interview, I didn't even get nothing. Give me a second. Give me a second. I'll go get some.
Well, I'll go ahead and explain what I got in my cocktail while Skip is away. Mike's muted, sir.
You got the CBD in your cocktail. I knew it. Go ahead and do the commercial. Ready?
Well, Skip caught me, goddammit. Fellas, sometimes you just can't get it up. We'll be real. Okay. Sometimes that liquor gets a hold of you, or maybe you just ain't interested in the chick. Luckily for you, we got what you need. CBD4ED.me. Go to the website, use code ACC22, and get you a nice little discount. I got a nice little video for you. Pull it up. Hey, there we go. Kent, appreciate you tuning in.
Yes, sir. See you later, Kent. Mr. made a statement.
Well, hang on there. Go ahead.
Cool.
I'm
here. Mr. made a statement or asked a question. Is it true that they don't get paid but $500 a game in preseason? What's the point of having a preseason? Well, I don't know about that $500 a game shit because once the training camp starts, their paycheck starts. So if it's $40 million a year, that's broken up over those 17 weeks or 20 weeks or whatever it is. And at the end of that 20 weeks, he'll have that full whatever it is he makes a year. It's not stretched out over 12 months. So, no. The purpose of preseason, though, is for the coaches to see what they got, to view what they drafted in game time situations and scenarios, and to be able to say, you know what, we're not going to use him at this position. We can put him on special teams. Or we can have him as a journeyman, wide receiver, whatever the case may be. So you have to know what you have going into a fight. You just don't go get Mike Tyson at 55 years old and Holyfield at 75 years old and say, hey, I got my gang, let's go fight.
Ooh.
They gotta warm up or stretch or do whatever because they are who they are. So yeah, go.
The answer to his question, rookies will earn a per diem payments from the first day of preseason training camp until week 1 prior to the NFL regular season. I didn't know this. $850 per week.
Okay.
Until the season starts. Meanwhile, the veteran players are paid more, but these are rookie players that's trying to make the team and coming in, which we kind of figured because, like you said, once they signed that contract, when we was going through the draft positioning, and you got rookie free agents coming in, a lot of them are not making as much money. Of course, the person that signed the contract because they're rookie free agents. And then you got to think about if they did have a contract where they get hurt. That's why you see the injury settlements that come back out later on, that they might give them X amount of money on the potential that they were going to make. But $850 per week still.
But now that's undrafted free agents and 4th through 7th rounders. The 1st through 3rd rounders, by the time they got the contract, they have all of that. So when you say per diem, you know what per diem is, right? Money you was gonna get anyway. So it's not all they're making. It's just that came out what they're getting paid, until contracts are signed or whatever, in my opinion. But go ahead.
So we see here week rates in retrospect for league years. Late in 2020, it was $2,000 a week when they up and down. In 2021, they made $2,900, close to $3,000 for some of the top tier players and people that's been in the leagues. But like you said, you got rookie free agents that's coming in making the team. Yeah, that's about to go right to answer Mr.'s question.
Yeah, but when you're an undrafted free agent and you walking onto a team, it's pretty much like walking into a job at a construction plant or whatever. You start at the bottom, and if you lucky enough to get signed to hourly pay, you get paid. If you make the 53-man roster, what's the minimum salary for NFL players? Was it $250,000 a year, something, $500,000 a year?
Yeah, about 250 to 500,000.
Sign me to ride the bench.
Now, what I see here in the bargaining agreement, Skip, that we were just talking about, so Mister can understand. It's went up every year, and I guess that's what the cost of living and things that's going on, and this is what the league got. It went from $2,000 in 2020, $2,900 in 2020, 21 and 22. This year, 23 and 24, they'll make $3,200, $35 next year, and it keeps going up all the way to 29, 30. They'll make $4,100 basically.
Right.
Doing training camp to the regular season.
And I think that's different for places like the cost of living in Georgia is way cheaper than the cost of living in California. So I think it's based on that too. I think that the league wide is probably that number, but when you're in small towns like Carolina, that $3,000 a week, you can live in a mansion. But $3,000 a week in California will get you a 1-bedroom apartment. You get what I'm saying? So I think it's commensurate to where you're playing. Also, I think it fluctuates because minimum wage in California is way more than minimum wage here in Georgia.
Wow.
You see, so I think all of that applies too. But in the grand scheme of things, yeah, they get a minimum of $500, $850, or whatever it was you said.
I thought crazy. Go ahead, D.
And to answer Kev's question, and we both were wrong, it's a little higher. The minimum wage in the NFL is $660,000. 10 years ago, it was $300,000.
Right. There you go.
Minimum wage is $6. So the bottom line contract is over half a mil.
The minimum salary is measured up to $660,000 as of 2021 season.
10
years ago prior, $300,000, but $300,000 10 years in 2011. But to go with what Kev is saying, that riding the bench, you're working for that now.
Yeah, you can't riding the bench
Oh,
is not easy.
believe me, I know that.
So you the test dummy in practice when they running these plays and running, getting prepared for the next team.
For
Because
660 goddamn thousand, I'll be the tackle dummy.
yeah, you say
Yeah,
that.
until the first week is over with.
Yeah,
I
you say that.
guarantee you're gonna have more hospital bills than that.
Yeah, you
But,
say that one. Go ahead. Yep.
But Mark, the NBA is completely different. The pay per player in the NBA is way higher than
And
the
they got
NFL.
guaranteed.
NBA, you only have 15 players on the team, 3 which you never see.
Mm.
You see what I'm saying? So, in order to be on an NBA roster, you got to be a monster anyway. Of course, it's higher. It's 53 players on an average football team, and those are the ones that travel week to week. But they have up to 75. Practice squad is 10, and then they have when you go on IR, it's a whole another world when it comes to football and basketball.
I think practice squad for football is now moved down to like 5 to 7 players. It's not even 10 anymore.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But those are players that's ready to go at the drop of a dime.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? And then their pay will jump tremendously if they get thrust onto the 53-man roster. But
Yeah.
man, I think their minimum is $2 million a year?
Yes.
League minimum or something like that. So, but you gotta think. I tell people all the time, that man that never plays, the 15th player on the bench, of the 3, they better than 90% of the people that you're gonna ever see in life that don't play in the NBA. They fucking freaks. They just are not as good as the other 12. So sitting on the bench ain't easy because every year they draft somebody. That means somebody got to be cut.
Somebody coming for your job.
So yeah.
Well, fellas, I don't have a graphic for this, but we're gonna end on this. Bill Russell, number 6, has been retired throughout all teams in the NBA. They have retired his jersey. They have retired his number through every single team.
Well, the players that have been wearing the number, they are still eligible to wear it. LeBron's. I seen Lou Williams and a couple of others. They're still able to wear the jersey. But what I can tell you, great. The man set a precedent in this league. I can't take nothing from him at all. A staple in the community. Boston, really, the fan base loved him on the court. Off the court, they didn't. Some of the political stances that he took, that's wonderful. And it took a long time for some of these athletes that we see to get their flowers. And it's a travesty that they waited this long. They just a couple of years ago just gave the finals MVP award, in his honor. Should have been done that. You know what I'm saying? They gave the logo of the NBA to Jerry West. This man was whooping Jerry West's ass. Am I right, Skip?
Of course. But it was a different NBA then.
Different NBA then. So, he should have got his flowers a long time ago as being the first black coach to win the NBA title, as a player coach also. So it's wonderful to me. It's wonderful. Because a lot of these kids that's growing up that see all they know is LeBron, Curry, some of these players. I didn't get to see Bill Russell play. So I'm not going to sit here. I got to respect his legacy. And when you go back and look at some of the things that this man went through, what he did, and it's just like he beat a bunch of Laker teams with a bunch of Hall of Famers on it, along with his Hall of Fame squad. But, hey, kudos to him and his family.
Coaching. But, wow. It's a shame that it takes death for people to be recognized the way they should have been recognized while they were living. Like D said, Jerry West was recognized. Shit, he was still young enough to play in the NBA. Well, no, he wasn't. No, when they made him the logo, what year was that?
He was out in the NBA.
Yeah, because he was part coach too. So yeah. But when they made him the logo, he wasn't nowhere close to dying. Shit, he's still living. So, different era, different outlook, and everything else. But there were a lot of other players more deserving of something like the logo than Jerry West at that time. He wasn't the best point guard, period. in that era. I think he
Does
was.
this say 1969?
That was the last time he played.
No, was when the logo was adopted.
Oh
So
shit! Well, yeah, he was. He was no,
he was.
Hang
Wait a
on.
minute.
no, couldn't have been. Not no.
The current NBA logo was adopted in 1969 and has been since then.
So he kept playing. He played through that deal.
So he was playing because he
See?
started coaching the Lakers in '72.
Yeah. And didn't he finally win right before he retired?
No, he wasn't the coach because they brought in your boy.
The other.
Man. And
But I'm
they
saying,
draft Magic, and he was against them drafting Magic.
yeah, the Magic came in '79.
Right. So yeah. So if they had the logo, while he still was. He could have still been playing. He had retired because he just got tired of the game and he couldn't beat the Celtics like he wanted to.
Yeah.
Well, Skip, since you're up there, go ahead and give me your last take.
That's a lot of stuff, but we're on football season, so let's stick with football. I hope that the NBA Players Association pay close attention to what the NFL is going to do to Deshaun Watson. I said NBA, but I meant NFL. Is going to do to Deshaun Watson. Like I said last week, there's no reason for them to bring in an independent arbitrator if they were just going to overrule it anyway. So if they band together like Mr. said and do something, no, was it Bo, I think, said that, and get him back on the field. If they band together and say, hey, look, if you go against what we both agreed on and do what you want to do, we're not going to play. I think if they were to band together enough, just enough players, just the superstars, and just not play, and then all the rest of them follow them, I'm quite sure the NBA would say, you know what? I mean, the NFL would say, you know what? We're just going to go ahead and go with what they said, because if he was guilty of something, then yeah, he hasn't been charged with anything. It's just word of mouth. You know, I'm not understanding what it is, who they're trying to appease by changing the suspension from what the arbitrator said that he deserved. So, I think if there's no reason to have an NFLPA if you're not going to work for the player, all of the players. That's my final take.
Dirty D.
Hey, like I say again, I'm waiting for this high school football that's going to start around the state. Real football's going to kick in. I got my Bulldogs going to get ready to play to try to defend the championship. And as we keep going on, we're going to look at a lot of things closely. There's all these different stories that are going to happen in the NFL. You know, right now, Deshaun Watson is the conversation that we're having right now. I'm really tired of it, to be honest with you, because I'm ready to play football. Hey, fly, Eagles fly, Cowboys up. Let's make it happen.
Well, then we're just going to go ahead and end on this note. Fuck the Eagles. I respect that you got a homeboy who is playing with the Giants, but fuck the Giants. And other than that,
Cowboy fans said that's all he could say is fuck them because you can't beat them.
ladies, should we go pull the record? Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, please keep your beer cold, keep your bellies full, and we will see you next time here on Last Take of Shot in the Dark. We out.